Hello and welcome back to Chapter 6 Notes. And so in this lecture video, we're going to go over some calculations related to cost allocation. So the problem that we ended the first lecture video on, the Albright Company, that was an example of a single rate allocation scheme where we took that $270,000 of overhead and allocated out just on a single rate. There was no effort to take that 270 and classify that 270 total cost and classify it as either variable or fixed and then allocate it out differently. This problem, though, on the other hand, is an example of a dual rate rather than a single rate allocation problem. Okay, so it says right over here, liars, cheaters, and fools, attorneys at law specialize in three areas: criminal, civil, and family. When the specs for a new computer system were established, the criminal law needed 60%, other capacity, civil law 25%, family law 50%. Partners agreed that the fixed cost of the computer department would be allocated on these percentages. Variable cost, though, for the computer department would be allocated on the number of computer minutes each division used. The computer department's budgeted fixed costs are $700,000. The budgeted variable costs are $150,000. The firm estimates that 400,000 minutes of computer time will be used. We don't need to worry about that. Okay? So we say over here, if the criminal law division actually uses 190,000 minutes, what's the total amount of computer department costs that the criminal law division will get? So we're going to come over here, we're going to allocate out the variable costs first. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do, actually we'll do fixed costs first. Fixed costs. Okay? Now, it says right over here, we're going to allocate out the fixed costs of the computer department based upon these percentages. So here's the fixed cost, $700,000, and it says criminal gets 60%. So I'm going to take my $700,000 times my 0.6, which gives me $420,000. Okay? Then I come over here, that's the first step. And then the second step is to do my variable costs. I have to allocate out the variable costs of the IT department. And to do that, I first calculate the rate. Remember, the way to calculate the rate is estimated overhead divided by estimated allocation base. That gives you the rate. Then the rate times the amount of allocation base actually used is how much cost is allocated. Okay, so in this case, we have our budgeted variable costs, 150, and that is allocated based upon the number of computer minutes each division uses. So the firm thinks that they're going to have 400,000 of computers, so computer minutes. So what this is saying is that the IT department will allocate 37.5 cents of 37.5 cents per computer minute. Okay, 37.5 cents per computer minute. So it says civil law actually uses 190,000. How much do they get? How much cost do they get? Well, you take the 190,000 times my 0.375, which gives me my 71,250, and then I add that to my 420. 420 plus the 71,250 gives me my 491,250. That's how much total cost will be allocated to the criminal law division. And you can see we're using a dual rate allocation scheme. Okay? So just continuing on, a few more problems right over here. The family law division, I'm going to do these very quickly. Uses 57,000 minutes of computer time. How much does the family law division get? And then what amount of the department's fixed costs will be allocated. So you can say over here, we'll say our 700,000 in family law gets 15% of those fixed costs, gives us our 105,000, and then we've already calculated our rate. That stays the same, times the 57,000 minutes right over there equals our 21,375. We can add it up, we get 126,375. Okay? What amount of the computer department's fixed costs will be allocated to civil family law? So for civil, it's 25%. Which gives me 175, and then we already did family right up here. It's 105. Okay? Again, I went through these two problems pretty quickly because the harder one was the first one. now let's make a point about the direct method of allocating out service department costs. Again, what we're talking about here with the last few problems that we've been talking about is, and the whole point of this chapter so far, has been about allocating out service department costs. So service departments are those support functions within the company. So for example, accounting, human resources, the janitorial department, the marketing department. And those service departments, they're support departments. They will provide support to producing departments, such as finishing or assembly. Okay? So the way I think about this, maybe in terms of higher education in Mary Washington, I would say a support function within Mary Washington could be the library. And the library could allocate their costs out to the College of Business, College of Arts and Sciences, and College of Education, okay, perhaps based upon number of books downloaded or articles downloaded or books checked out, something along those lines, okay? So the whole point about the direct method is that service departments allocate their costs to production departments. They do not allocate their costs to other service departments. So even though the janitorial department could clean the offices of the HR department, they will not allocate their costs out. This does not happen, and neither does this. Even though HR could be involved in hiring folks in the janitorial department, they would not allocate their costs out to the janitorial department. The direct method says, by definition, service departments allocate their costs to production departments. That's why this janitorial goes to assembly and to finishing, HR goes to assembly and to finishing, but HR does not go to janitorial, janitorial does not go to HR. Okay? There are other ways of doing this discussed in cost accounting books, the step method and the reciprocal method that consider this relationship. We're only considering the direct method. Okay? So here's another example. It says right over here, the building maintenance department for Taylor Bath budgets annual costs of $3 million based upon the expected operating level for the coming year. The costs are allocated to two production departments, okay? Production Department 1 and Production Department 2. Taylor Bath is thinking about two different allocation bases for the assignment of costs. They're thinking about either using square footage or direct labor hours. So your task is to calculate the costs that would go to each department based upon square footage or direct labor hours. How much of the $3 million goes to Department 1 based upon square footage, and then Department 2. How much of the $3 million goes to Department 1 based on hours, and then Department 2. And then comment on which allocation base would be preferable. Okay? So you may actually want to stop the lecture video and do this problem and see how you do, and then we can come back and check it. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to take a look here. So the first thing that we do is always do the rate. So we take our $3 million divided by our 50,000, okay, which equals our 60. Okay, in the case of square footage, it's $60 per square foot. In the case of labor hours, it's $60 per labor hour. So then we can come over here and say footage. So Department 1 gets $1.2 million for Department 1. And the way I got that is I took the 60 times the 20,000. And then Department 2 gets 1.8 million. I'm just writing M for million because I'm being lazy. And so that's Department 2. And the way I got that is I took the $60 times the 30,000. With hours, then it's switched. 1.8, 1.2. Okay? Which one is preferable? Well, it's the one. Which one is preferable? Footage or hours? It's the one that would be the true cost driver. That's the right answer, right? I mean, if the cause and effect relationship is strongest between square footage, the more square footage that they have, the more costs that the maintenance department has, then square footage is the better one. If it's labor hours in each department, right, if that's the cost driver, if that's the cause and effect relationship, then labor hours would be better. But if you kind of think about it, this is kind of interesting where you see I saw this some in my professional experience, that cost allocation, these become big battles. And become battles for politics within the company. And when I say politics within the company, I don't mean Republican, Democrat. What I mean is that people are looking out for their own turf. It's turf battles. Okay? That's what I mean. Now, if you are the cost accountant and you are in the meeting with the manager of Department 1 and the manager of Department 2, the manager of Department 1 is going to say square footage. The manager of Department 2 is going to say no, labor hours. Now, the real reason is because they get less cost. But they may not say that. They may say, well, Department 1 manager may say, I think the true cost driver is square footage. Department 2 said, no. It's direct labor hours. But their real underlying reason is that they get less cost. Okay? Here's another example. Again, y'all may want to stop the lecture video and then check your work. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go over this one now. And so we have our company cafeteria. That would be another example of a shared resource, right? That would be allocating its cost to these other departments. So the company cafeteria is a shared resource that will be allocating its cost out, okay? Based on the number of employees. And it's not the number, so if you look over here, company cafeteria is going to allocate out to molding, polishing, engraving, and packaging, okay? It says right over here there are 5 employees in the company cafeteria, and the company's costs are $127.50. This cost is for these 5 employees. So when you add up all these employees, you get 100 employees, which is the 25 and 35 and the 30 and the 10. Okay, the base is 100 employees. It's not 105. They would not be included in the base because this is their cost that you're trying to push out to these other departments. So it says the first question, what's the amount per employee that will be allocated to each? The amount per employee, so we take our 127.50 divided by our 100, 1,207.5. Okay? How much will be allocated to the molding? So molding, I just say my 25 times my 1,207.5, which gives me my 30,187.50. That'd be the right answer, okay? And then how much go to polishing and packaging, respectively? Well, with polishing, we saw, remember that we had 35 employees, so we take our 1,207.5 times 35, which equals our 42,262.5. And then we take, for our next department, for packaging, they have 10 employees times the 10, gives us our 12,075. Okay? What is the total amount of the company's the cafeteria costs that will be allocated to the production departments of the budget amount? Okay, 127.50. Okay. So we do have some additional points over here on cost allocation. Okay. First one is that management should allocate based upon budgeted costs rather than I'm back. I just want to get a sheet of paper there. Sorry. Management should allocate based upon budgeted costs rather than actual costs. And that allows, so the allocation of actual amounts would allow for the cost of inefficiencies to be passed on to other departments. So what I was fishing there for a second ago was this sheet of paper because I wanted to show you this. So again, if we look at this, this is the budgeted cost of the company cafeteria. If this were the actual cost, let's say the actual cost was $125, and this was their budgeted cost. If we let them allocate their actual costs over here, they could allocate out all the $125, even though they went beyond their budget. But we're only going to let them allocate out their budgeted costs. That way, we have this variance in the company cafeteria's budget, and we can hold them accountable for that variance. They're not allowed to push their inefficiencies to other departments, okay? And that's basically what I'm saying right over here. The other thing is when cost allocations are made of the budgeted rates, managers of the divisions that receive the cost have no uncertainty about the rates that they are going to use. It's a budgeted amount. It's the same amount every single month. And so that makes it easier for them to budget as well. Okay? I'm going to end this lecture video here, and we'll continue in the next one with the rest of the topics on cost allocation. Thanks.